Yo, can everyone hear me? Of course you can. Hello, everyone. I am Romy, your host of Shuttler Spirit, and you are watching the place for elite badminton mindset, where we will interview champions, legends, ambassadors, and individuals that help push the sport of the wonderful badminton as we know it. This is where we showcase wonderful world of badminton, the sport, the community, and the athletes. And the format of these events will be more of a conversational one. So please type your questions, feedbacks, and comments for us in any feed that you're currently watching it in, and we'll be able to see it and we'll respond as time allows. So, our guest today really needs no introduction as he is the current world number one Olympic champion, world champion, All England champion, Thomas Cup champion, and many, many more champions throughout his career. This actually makes my introduction a lot easier because all I have to say is champion behind the names. But he is currently in Indonesia, ready for the Indonesian Open. And with no further ado, I am so honored to welcome my awesome guest and best friend, Viktor Axelsen.
Hey Romy,
Victor!
can you hear me? Thanks for the nice introduction.
Well, the
Uh,
best friend part, I think you're my best friend. I don't know if I'm your best friend, but I'm sure many people here are loving the presence that you have shared with us here, and really appreciate your time too, being so kind with your very busy schedule. But just to start off everything, how is Indonesia and the travels so far with the family?
well, Indonesia is really good so far. We had a really nice welcome here at Fairmont Hotel in Jakarta, where we usually stay during Indonesia Open. We're back in Istora now. Haven't been there for training yet, but it has been a few years, so it's going to
Yeah.
be really good to play here in Indonesia with the spectators and everything. But yeah, so far so good. When you travel with a little one who is around 1 year and 7 months now, it's always like you're crossing your fingers a little bit before the flight and everything. But everything went smooth, and the only issue
Yeah.
was that we forgot our baby bed in the airport. So
Oh
we had,
no!
yeah.
Does Vega travel
So
well, or?
actually, she's been really good. She behaved super well. So we were really happy to get through without too much of a hassle.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I have a little one myself too. He's about
Yeah.
a month and a year and 3 months. So I haven't brought
Mm.
him traveling yet, which I'm really looking forward to. But who knows? When they go up, maybe they'll enjoy the flight and the turbulence, not like me. But so
Yeah.
I don't know. Like how long was the flight from Dubai to Indonesia?
It was around 8.5 hours, and we
Oh
flew
wow.
throughout. It was a night flight, so
Yeah,
actually
yeah, yeah.
she's more than she used to on the flight. So it was pretty good actually. It is what it is, and it's better than flying 12, 13, 14 hours from
Yeah.
Denmark. So it was actually pretty smooth.
Yeah, that's a question that we'll definitely dive into, kind of your move to Dubai and kind of the advantages and how it's working for you currently too. But today, just to let the people know, we will be exploring both sides of Victor, you as an athlete, and on the other side too, a family man, a father, a significant other, a son, and a best friend. So yeah, but no, awesome.
Yeah.
So jumping into it directly on the elite badminton athlete side, just in your perspective right now, with achieving so many, like basically almost all of them right now, all the championships, what does a perfect professional athlete look like in terms of the system for support, training, equipment to be able to perform at their best?
Well, I think it really comes down to the individual and the upbringing, and how the athlete mindset is and everything.
Yep.
For me, I've been really lucky to be a part of a really strong club system in Denmark when I was young, and I had all the possibilities to spend a lot of hours in the local badminton hall, and I had better players to play with, and stronger players to play with throughout my youth.
Mhm.
Um, but me myself, I've been the type of person who never needed to get pushed. I always wanted to do more. I always
Yeah.
wanted to have fun while playing. So for me, actually, I haven't really faced the difficulties many people around the world face when they get to a certain age. They start to focus maybe a little bit on, you know, girls or boys or going out and stuff like that. So for me, I've been really fortunate that I always had the motivation, and I had really good results, which gave me even more motivation, and people
Yes.
believed in me. So
Awesome.
it's a broad question, and now obviously things change when you get to a certain level, and when you have accomplished a lot of the things you set out to do,
Yeah.
you start to change your needs and wants, and the situation might change, and that's probably where I came to after the Olympics.
Oh, okay. So the mindset kind of, and I guess the target shifts now as you achieve along the way. Like these are pretty big goals that you've set for yourself, and you've achieved like all of them, which is like fantastic. But I guess another question, like what's currently in your mind as a target, being a badminton player like yourself, you've hit all the marks. Like obviously doing multiple times of those things will be great. I know we know the greats like Lindan and Li Zhongwei and people like that, where they not only became an ambassador for the sport, but also for their country and badminton itself. Like, is that kind of where you're sitting at the moment?
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, I want to show, like many players before me have shown, that a badminton player, men's singles from Denmark, can do it on the big scene. And once again, I'm really happy and really thankful for all the support I've gotten throughout my career, from all around the world, and of course especially Denmark and the support system we have there. I think we have a great system for bringing up younger players.
Yeah.
Through the club system and everything. That's one of the really strong sides of the Danish badminton situation, is all the clubs. But for me, my goal is to keep improving. Even though I've accomplished a lot, I don't feel like I've accomplished too much, if you know what I mean. Sometimes I obviously stop up and I'm proud of what I have achieved and stuff like that. But I more see it as a motivation, where it's like, oh, I'm only 28, and
Yeah.
I still hopefully have many years, and what can I do? How far can I come? And
Yes.
I don't really, I'm not too satisfied, if you know what I mean. I'm happy,
Yeah.
I'm proud, but I'm definitely not satisfied.
Then what can be the next step? Like right now, what would be the goal? Like I know being a better badminton player and athlete is on the athletic side, and I know that's part of the reason that you moved to Dubai, was to make that an advantage where you can train in different climate conditions. Also, the recovery and all the physio, everything is kind of within one center too. And the traveling part that you're talking about is a lot closer to a lot of different locations and tournaments, which is definitely an advantage that you've set for yourself. Then going through all this and becoming the ideal athlete in your mind, what is that next step, using that new Viktor, basically?
Well, I think, even though I'm not old per se, you're still getting older as an athlete. And again, both from a mindset wise and also from a physical standpoint,
Yes.
you have to take initiatives and you have to put more emphasis on different things as you get older. When I was 15, 16, you could just go to the badminton hall. I could train 4, 5, 6 hours without thinking about it. Could go
Yeah.
back home and eat whatever Nutella.
Yeah. Just anything you want.
Yeah. And obviously now I still have a really big training load, but now
Yeah.
things are done a little bit differently. Sometimes I have to take a step back, and if I feel it's not soreness, but it's maybe a little bit more of just a muscle ache or something like that, I have
Yeah.
to
Tone it down.
plan my training accordingly. And I think as I get older, I'm getting better and better at being honest with myself and which situation I'm in, and what is the physical standpoint and everything. So it's really a learning curve, and you have to learn along the way, and most importantly of all, you have to be able to take in feedback from the people
Yes.
around you and be honest with yourself. I think it's dangerous to get to a point where because you've won a lot, you start to think that everything you do is the right thing. I definitely, yeah, definitely feel I still have a long way to go, and I have a lot to learn. So having a learning mindset is something which is really important for me as a badminton player.
No, fantastic. Jumping into that concept too of like the whole Dubai situation right now, and that's kind of how we were connected to through Brian Yang, our Canadian Wonder Boy. So he's awesome. Always cheering
Yeah,
for him.
yeah.
But how did you connect with him originally?
Well, I've seen Brian play on a few occasions, also, and he obviously, it's been over the last few years where he has been coming into the international scene, and he's a humble and great guy. And I spoke to him a little bit at some of the tournaments we both played in. And for me personally, I think it's great to have motivated and talented guys around me, even though they're younger than me and stuff like that. I see no, I cannot see why I shouldn't do it, because they wanna, a guy like Brian, he wants to, do well. He wants to chase, a player like me. Obviously, he wants to beat me when we play, but we can still use each other in a training situation, and hopefully, we will have many good practice hours ahead. He's definitely welcome for the next camps as well, and we're already planning to do more practice together, and I wish him all the best. Obviously, I hope that I will still beat him for many years to come.
Wish him all the best until
Yeah,
you guys meet, and
until,
then you want to beat him.
yeah,
Wish you all
but
the best.
against me, he should feel like he should lose because I invited him. No.
Yeah,
Obviously,
no, totally.
obviously, we are in a competitive sport, but in order
Yes.
to keep improving, which we all want, and we have to have like-minded and professional people around us. And Brian has, like me, obviously a lot of work ahead of him. But it's only good to have good guys around you, and most importantly, he's a great guy. So it's great to be able to connect with him.
Yeah, and that's kind of a segue into the camps that you've set in Dubai for these. It seems like it's these players that don't have as much of a big representation in their own country that you kind of want to lift up. Is that kind of the choosing criteria that you have for these camps? It's like trying to push up the people that aren't as recognized.
Well, I think for me, you see players like again like Brian, and
Sure.
also looking you, who obviously they get support from the federations and everything, and they do a big work behind the scene, and it's to get where they are. It requires a lot of hard work for all the people around them. But for me, I saw it as a great opportunity for both of us. I'm in a new situation where I need some sparring partners. They're in a situation where it would, if I bring the best players from the country, so it might not have the biggest national center or with the most top 20 men's singles players. It's a win-win situation for all of us, and it's a chance for us to not use each other, if you know what I mean, in a good way, and spar with each other in order for all of us to keep improving. And for me, I don't see it as a then they will know how to play or they will know a game, but I don't think like that at all. As a professional athlete, you have to be able to figure out how to win in a competition setting, even though you practice a lot of hours with the given individual. I don't see it as a threat at all. I actually only see it as a win-win situation for all of us who have been in Dubai training together. Because if you look at the players for some of the camps, we have now talented players, and we also have players who are now getting really far on the international scene. So it's a great competitive environment and a great opportunity to improve, I feel like.
That's awesome. I think you help push.
Sorry, Romy, but one thing I want to add is I want to break down the barriers a little bit for only the federations train together. And it has been that for many years, and I feel like it's time to open up a little bit and to see, if we want the sport to be more professional, we want it to be even more, friendly to the spectators and the badminton world in general. We shouldn't just be running around in federations and all the time. I think there is, we can use both things. Federations and the training centers is all great, but why shouldn't we use the opportunity to play together, to train together, and to compete against each other if we do it in a healthy and good way for the sport?
Totally. You're speaking my mind too, because I'm coming from a non-professional athlete, but I do play in a competitive standpoint, and obviously I can't compare myself to, but it's from more of a grassroots, from a recreation standpoint. I remember in one of the interviews you did, I think it was in All England, that you talked about the kind of the United States, the scene in US right now. A lot of people, how they see badminton is a lot more in that backyard kind of a vibe. It's very recreation. They don't see it as a potential career, And another issue I think is, you also talked about the Asian kind of community within the North American realm. They're the ones that are playing the sport, and there are huge communities that are within that the clubs, let's say, and it makes badminton seem like, either you have to be in a club to play, or you're in the backyard. And what we're trying to do, like, I know, Charles, one of a partner of mine with IBL. We're trying to create these leagues that, everyone can participate, and there's less of that kind of level of, you have to be an elite to play to start, because it always feels that way too. And I don't know, like, in your kind of a professional career standpoint right now, how do you see building people that have, never seen badminton before? Because especially in North America, it's not broadcasted, widely, like
No,
probably in Europe and stuff, right? So
I think, as I touched on, just briefly a little bit earlier, is that, in Denmark, there is sort of that, even though we don't have it down as a framework, there is still a framework on
yeah,
how
yeah,
to approach things when you just start as a badminton. You come, from the grassroots, you come to a practice where people are at the same level of you.
yeah,
The coaches have a basic understanding. Okay, this is how we work on the footwork. This is how we hold on the racket and stuff like that. Where I feel like, without being an expert in the North America side of things, I feel like, maybe it's something where it's like, oh, you go to a club or an academy, you play with your friends, but there is not really, you're not really taken care of from a young age, and there is not this, gradual thing where it's like, oh, you can still, even though you're not, because everybody sucks when they start. Like,
yeah, of
that's
course, yeah, and anything, yeah, exactly, yeah. Not
that's
just
how it
badminton.
is. Yeah, exactly. So you should have that time, to gradually get to a point where you don't suck. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
where you don't.
exactly.
So, and that's, what is good in Denmark. You can come, and we have this, and in many clubs in Denmark we have this. How can I translate it? Like, for all the kids who just started, come with the parents, like parents, kids badminton.
Oh, okay,
So you
okay.
come in the weekends. There is still a coach who you play with balloons and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
wow.
that gradual thing, which you're also trying to build now for players who also to want to play competitively, is so important, because from a
Yes,
young age you can get out, you can compete, you
yes,
can learn to lose, most importantly.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the kids can get that feeling of, even though they cannot put it into words, they can get the feeling of, oh, I lost out to this guy who is my age, now I have to get back to work, and I don't want to lose next time.
yes,
We shouldn't
yeah,
be afraid to lose, and we shouldn't be afraid to get told that you have to do things differently, even from a young age, in my perspective. And that's so important, to build that framework
yeah,
throughout the country, in order to keep building the players and don't lose them along the way. Because if there is a link somehow down the road where it's like, oh, when you get to this level, you're sort of on this stage where it's like, either you get really, really good,
yeah,
or you're just so, and you don't get the
yeah,
chance. You can get really, really good. Then you lose the players, and then you don't get
yes,
don't get the chance to see, okay, could this player potentially, actually, if he had the platform and
resources.
the support
Yeah,
to give it another chance, could he be really good? And that's really important. And it seems like, or I know it's one of the key things you're also working on, which is great.
yeah. I think you're describing exactly what North America is like at the moment, where it's like university is like the worst killer of badminton as a career, because it's like once people hit that university mark, it's like studies
Mm.
are take precedence, because
Mm.
they can't see badminton as a career unless they're willing to travel abroad.
Yeah.
And we get the really unique individuals like Michelle Lee and John
Mm.
Baywin and stuff like that, but
Mm.
those are like one in however potentially hundreds of thousands to millions of players that
Yeah.
could have
Yeah.
been like you're talking about, right? And how can we create that platform in North America, where, like, you are also talking about this in terms of the big sports that are recognized as United States, like
Yeah.
American football, basketball, NHL,
Mm.
volleyball, and stuff like that. So um, of course there's a lot of work to be done, I think, in the badminton realm of things, but I think now, because of so many different channels that we have communications through, we can definitely start building it. And going to be so cool to build it with someone like you, that actually care about, I think, the development of the future, and it's not only the development of yourself, but I think what's really cool that you've done too is intertwine kind of the development of the new with also the ones that are already in the circuit, like what you're doing in
Mm.
Dubai right now. I think it's fantastic. like you said, it's a win-win situation. It benefits the new because they're excited to, first of all, be part of your training regimen, but also you get to play with like high energy young people that probably don't care about injury as much to start with. I'm 42 myself, so I definitely feel, I don't feel 28 like you again, but I do think a lot about injuries. It's like, should I go for that lunge anymore? Now it's
Yeah.
that thought because I know I might hurt my Achilles or something, but
Yeah.
the mindset does shift a lot, like you said, when the age kind of starts going up, because you need to do the long term. And I don't know, like someone like Li Zhongwei and Lin Dan, it's like, how did they maintain, because they went pretty old in age too, right? Like I think it was what,
Yeah.
mid
Sure.
30s.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Definitely, really. And when the training load, especially in Malaysia and also China from a young age, it's really it's really astonishing what they managed to accomplish. So I have big respect for that, and I can only try to do it my way, and hopefully see how far I can go.
Yeah, and I guess the innovation side too, in how you're planning this new structure for yourself.
Yeah.
How has that been going for you? Like this Dubai move right now, is it benefiting yourself? Like obviously you're creating results, but in your own mindset, like I'm sure you're aiming way higher than that, right? So
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like when I do these camps like this, and I have the setup I have, I also have a certain responsibility that the things I'm doing and the way we do things are professional, and everything is running smooth and everything. And I get a huge support from Yonex as well, who makes sure the courts are there. The Nadal Sheba Sports Complex makes sure that everything is ready to go when we come there. For recovery wise, we have really good support and everything. So, for me, I just want to create the best possible platform for us to have some good practice while we're there and get the most out of it. And when people come, they won't say that the training load is necessarily super high, but it's really intense, and there is really a lot of focus on the quality rather than the quantity during the practice. Because I know for sure that I cannot go 5 hours on court, both from a physical standpoint, I wouldn't be able to handle it, and from a mentally standpoint, I wouldn't be able to focus for that long. So my philosophy is that the quality has to be super high, and the intensity has to be high. And then in the afternoon, mostly we do the skill work, and we try to focus on the small nitty-gritty details, and we can do that again for how long we want. But then there is all the physical things which comes next to going to the gym afterwards, doing some cardio and alternating days and stuff like that. So I just try to do it my way, how I feel it's working, and luckily the players who are there, it feels like it's also a good thing to do it.
Fantastic. Actually, wouldn't you mind just going through that day that you just talked about in terms of structure, how you program it out for yourself at the moment? I know there's I remember asking Peter, I would say Gate. I know it's not supposed to be said that way because the D is silent, right? But, so I'll learn Danish one day. But for
We
now,
know who you're talking about, so I think
yeah.
it's
The one of the
yeah,
greats. So Peter Gay,
yeah.
that represented Denmark back when I started too. He talked about the training regimen is so, and the mentality is so different towards the different big tournaments. Towards the Olympics, towards the Worlds, towards All England. It's all very different in terms of mindsets, the courts.
Mm.
Right now, I know you're playing the series in general right now. So the Indonesian Open is the next one. How do you go about setting the short-term tournaments versus the longer-term ones, like the 2-year ones and then the team ones? And I know that's all very different in terms of how you approach it. But yeah, how do you split that up, I guess? I know it's a really
Well,
deep question. Yeah, but
yeah. The last 2 years has obviously been a little bit different, and not, we shouldn't really, think about it. I don't think it will be like that for obviously for the years moving forward.
hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
More and more tournaments are getting put in the calendar. The calendar year is starting to look a little bit more like tennis is, where there is a lot of tournament all the time, and you don't really have that long periods of training where, unless you skip a few tournaments and stuff like that, right? But but obviously for me as a player who, you know, I obviously rather want to win a Super 1000 tournament than a Super
Yeah,
500 tournament.
of course.
So you have to prioritize, and you have to be okay with going into a tournament which are not on your high priority list and having a little bit of tired legs. A great example would be the German Open before All England this year.
Yeah.
Leading up to that tournament, I was in Denmark, by the way, and training there, and we had to go hard leading all the way up to German Open, because I knew that, you know, All England was the most important thing. So even though I had to, you know, maybe compromise my physical standpoint for the first tournament a little bit, I knew that All England was the most important thing. So we had to basically sacrifice the feeling of being 100%. And I think that's how it's going to be moving forward. You know, you have to prioritize and you have to plan accordingly. And what I like to do is to set myself, okay, here we have, for example, All England or the World Champs. And then you look back and you say, okay, this week is the 1 week before. We should probably not do 6 5-minute intervals. We should probably, you know, keep it really sharp and intense.
Yeah.
And then as you get further and further away from the tournament, you can go harder and harder there, right? So it's
Okay.
the basic peak, you know, building the base, and then, you know, tapering, and then you should probably have a good curve up as you get, you know, as the training is more intense and your legs get more fresher.
Exactly. So I guess it's the legs. That's the secret. No, just kidding. I'm sure the arms are really important too. So
No, it's you know, actually for me, you know, I have no secrets. I just put in the work. The problem is that, you know, the thing is just that not many athletes around the world want to put in the work it requires to be one of the best. So I don't have any secrets about my training plans, how I do things and stuff like that. It's about putting in the work and sacrificing a lot of things in order to get there. The thing is, many people don't want to do that. A lot of people want to be comfortable, and it's definitely not comfortable at all times.
Yeah, there's always like an excuse. I remember was it Elon Musk saying he wouldn't recommend his position to anyone
Yeah,
actually. That's what he said.
yeah,
So
yeah,
because I know how tough it is. But
yeah,
right now I think you're in a very you deserve what you do, what you get, I think. And all the kind of accolades and rewards that you've received and recognition is through the hard work that you put in. But I think you've programmed it to your mindset that it's the thing to do. Like I don't even think you think it that way anymore. It's like you're just supposed to do it. It's like brushing your teeth in the morning kind of a thing, right? Like when you do the trainings, right? So
yeah. You know, in my mind, you know, as a professional athlete, I know that, you know, sorry, Romy, but when I'm 42, I'm probably not gonna make it. You know, I'm probably not gonna. It's probably not gonna be the time where I'm like, okay, we should get
let's
that.
go. Oh, darn it. I was thinking about
Yeah,
that. No, just
yeah.
kidding.
But it's we have this chance at this age in order to see how far we can become, how far we can come, sorry,
Yeah.
and how good we can become. So this is the time to put in the work. This is the time to give it a chance. And then there comes a time when I'm retired at some point where it's like, okay, I don't want to I don't want to be retired and then look back and then, you know, think to myself, oh, I should probably have done this and this and this, and I should probably have tried to move to Dubai and give it a chance. You know, I want to do the things I feel like it's right to do. And then, you know, sometimes I'll fail, you know, that's how it is. You have to be brave and you have to experiment. And sometimes you take a wrong step, and then you have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, this thing wasn't the right thing to do. I take a step back, and then I try to regroup and I try to learn from that experience. And then we go on again. But, you know, at this point with the Dubai situation and the camps we're doing there, it's working well.
That's fantastic. No, it's good to hear. Not good to hear that I have no more chance. No, just kidding, but it's good. It's good. I'll
Yeah,
stay home
well,
and take care of my child.
yeah,
So.
there's age group still.
Oh
So
yeah, that's true. Yeah, A minus. That's what I'm aiming for, not just like an A plus. So, no, jumping into. I know it's quite like when you talk about your career, you have that focus, that passion, and that drive. So I know there's that intensity in you when you talk about it, which is fantastic because I think everyone wanting to take badminton as a career or anything as a career, I think they should put in this intensity and passion to it. Right now, is there a platform or a framework for people to follow, like what you talked about? How Denmark was awesome in that situation, where you started out with a great framework to develop you further. And ideally, that's what we want to see North America become. I think there is a great program prior to that, at the junior national mark. But once that happens, it's like, wow, it gets filtered out so much because there's
Mm.
just, not as much support from the federation. But then again, should the support all come from the federations and the organizations? And that's what you're talking about. It can come from other places too, right? And this is that, great opportunity that we have right now in this day and age with, all this technology that we have. And
Mm.
no, it's cool to think about, what we can create with this future. Jumping into the feeling. Okay, we'll talk about the positive, really positive stuff right now. Obviously, the winning part, because I want you to share with people about um, how you approach these large tournaments. So we can start from probably the All England to the Worlds and then the Olympics, which I believe the trainings are all different and the mindsets are all different, like we talked about. But like for something like an All England, what does it feel like winning a prestigious type tournament like that?
Yeah, it's hard to describe. Obviously, it feels absolutely amazing. The feeling of winning the last rally is something where it's like um,
Oh yeah,
everything. Is just like endorphins and all just a rush of energy and happiness going through your body. Obviously,
yes,
um, the Olympics probably being the craziest feeling and the most shocking reaction I've had myself, where I could
yeah.
not control the feelings I had and stuff like that.
Oh wow,
Where it was like just a overwhelming rush of emotions, right? Because for some reason, the Olympics, is something you dream of, and it's obviously something I believed I could do, but
yeah,
it's still so few people who get to experience that feeling, and it requires also that that you're lucky somehow.
yes,
You cannot have a big blister, you cannot twist your ankle before in the preparation, you cannot eat something bad. Everything just have to fall into
Selma.
place in order for you to yeah.
Yeah,
And 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 that's also why it makes it so special to win a tournament like that.
yeah,
I would say that, for example, winning the All England here for the second time was obviously, I was really really happy, but for some reason, and I think I have a good explanation to that. I also feel a little bit relieved, to be honest, because it was like,
oh,
yeah, oh, I know that this is a really good chance to win. I'm in a good form. I know that if I play my best, I can actually do this. I don't want to, it's not. I don't want to waste this chance because it seems like I'm,
sure.
oh, I'm just gonna win. But
Mm,
I knew that my level, I knew that I could possibly be the best player in that week.
yeah,
And I knew that if I did things right and everything went as I hoped, I could do it right. And you get to this, and I forgot how you call it, but when you have won things one time before,
yeah.
it won't be the same feeling when you win again. It wouldn't have been, it would have been
Yes,
more special if I won it for the first time,
correct.
obviously, even though it felt just as great, but it
Yeah,
still feels different.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Like you've
And
done it,
there's
you've done it once already, right? Yeah,
Yeah, and there's a word for that, and that's why it's so important not to have only the for me, had the result as the end goal. The end
yeah.
goal should always be, for me personally, should always be to see how good can I become,
Yeah,
how good, how can I reach my full potential, and I don't feel I've done that yet, and that's why I'm keep, because if only results was the end goal, then you know I wouldn't necessarily, I think, be as hungry after improving as I am right now.
yeah, yeah, totally. It's like shoot for the stars, and then you'll get to the moon at least, right? So,
Mm.
it's always that kind of concept. That's why I was saying, these tournaments probably aren't your end goal because it's got to be like way higher than this to achieve this goal itself. And like you said, the stars have to align. And I remember you interviewing post Olympic tournament with like Chen Long and Ginting over there. You're talking about it was your day,
Yeah.
and yeah, because everyone is putting in the time, and I think are at a level to achieve that greatness potentially. But I was glad that you wanted to, so because I was like the previous year, because you got bronze, which is great already, and I felt bad
Yeah,
for Lindan that time. I was like, his last, Olympics
yeah.
potentially, but I was glad that you also got the medal to, prove a result. And I think you won worlds like either right before, or right after, I can't remember. Like it was really close to the bronze date,
Yeah.
right? So, and I guess winning worlds itself, how does that compare to the two tournaments? Because I look at those three as kind of the top for
Mm,
badminton. Yeah.
yeah. It was obviously crazy because at that time I didn't have, I had the Olympic bronze obviously and the European championships, but
Yep.
but that doesn't, the I would say though that the Olympic bronze for me at that time was so special because it was Olympic medal when I
Yes.
so early in my career, which
Yep.
was a huge milestone for me.
Yep.
And beating Lindan in such an important match was
Yeah.
something which I really built on from there,
Yep.
especially mentally. But Olympics, World Champs, Thomas Cup is really really close there actually,
Okay.
together with All England.
Okay.
It's hard to set a priority list, but one thing is for sure is that the Olympics is up there,
Yep.
obviously as the main one,
That's
right?
top.
Uh,
Yeah.
I would say the fact that it got changed, that in the past the World Champs was only every second year, right?
Yeah.
And that made it even more special. I feel like
Yeah.
moving it to every year, it just
Dilutes it, right? Yeah.
does something. Yeah, but
I agree.
obviously it's still
It's still top
second.
there. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
feels like when you add ice to like coffee and water's down,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
then you're like, oh crap. No, so I totally know the feeling. Well, not about winning, not about having,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
coffee.
I know what you mean.
So
Yeah,
so then I guess, yeah, I remember the Thomas Cup win. That was epic. Like when
yeah,
when you guys won and the whole team just rushed onto the court and you guys are
yeah,
dancing. Um, yeah, that rush of success, and I guess it's more success. It's not really relief. It's more of a
yeah.
success, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, yeah,
It is. Like, Thomas Cup was really special because usually you only have yourself to
yeah.
celebrate with, if you know what I mean,
That's
right? It's only
that's
you
true.
who feel the way you do,
Yeah, yeah.
but you have this chance to share it with someone else,
Yeah.
and there's definitely a special charm to that.
Oh man, I really hope that Canada will and US will eventually have that opportunity to hit that stage at that
Yeah,
mark too. And this year, I
yeah,
think it was incredible that India like hit
yeah, for
the
sure.
Thomas Cup, and that was
I think,
incredible. Yeah.
even though obviously I would have hoped that we would have done it, but I think for the sport, I think it was great also because India obviously has a huge potential
Oh
moving
yeah.
forward.
No, fantastic. Yeah. And I know it was like, was it Gobi Chen was the first to kind of start up the camps originally after he won like All England and stuff too. And I remember watching him play. I was like, India guy won like the All England. So it was so impressive. And I think it's always that an individual that's willing to take the country, or see a future for the country and taking it to that next level. Like I think Park Ji-bong for Japan has also done
Mm,
a fantastic job, and
mm.
their whole, like, I think women's doubles, like so stacked with like everything too. So their
Yeah,
whole team is fantastic. And I guess speaking of the top singles players right now, Kento obviously. We get into like Taiwan. We got Zhou Linchen, and obviously Anna's too. How does it compare right now? Like, do you actually look at their strategies, or do you focus on yourself more? Like, I always have a question of, can you get an athlete to mimic what they do and then train
mm.
that way, or how do you go about doing that? Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes we do exercises where it's like, oh, you have to play like this and this given individual or this way of playing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would say though that it really also comes down to which arena are you playing in.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Totally.
Birmingham. In Birmingham, when we play the All England, it's obviously a big, slow arena where you can play the backcourt easily and stuff like that. When you
Yeah.
play, yeah, for example, in Malaysia, Indonesia,
Yeah.
mostly there's a lot of drift and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to adapt and you have to be able to play in all these scenarios, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, for me personally, I feel like the most important thing is to focus on yourself and focus on, am I doing the right thing to improve, and am I, putting in the right work, and am I there where I want to be? Because sometimes you can go in with a plan, but then suddenly you cannot follow that plan because, maybe you're a little bit tense in the arm, so you cannot play the net like you want to do and stuff like that, and then you have to find another way to win. So obviously, I do a lot of analyzing now, also with PK, my coach, who's with me here as well, and I have a lot of experience from prior, obviously. So I don't necessarily have to do all the preparations because you've played against many of the players 100 times, right? So it is like that.
Nice. And I guess that coach and athlete relationship right now, it's obviously shifted after you've moved, away from Denmark and stuff. And right now with your coach, like, how does that go about? Because I don't think many people know that there is quite an active role that the coach plays when you guys are playing on court, right? There is that constant communication that happens in active coaching. And how does that go with you? Like, is it something that what kind of advice or suggestions do they provide when they're, on the side of the court?
Well, it's, again, I think comparing now to earlier, when I was younger, it's different, right?
Okay.
Obviously you go in with a plan, and you lay a plan with your coach before the game and stuff like that. But things change during match play, and the coach also have to be able to adapt, because one thing is the emotional support. When you look out, you have to be able to look at a guy who has a calm body language and who is happy with you when you're in the rallies, and who are trying to calm you down if you're getting a little bit too ramped up or frustrated. And then during the intervals, obviously you talk about the ways to communicate, and I evaluate with the coaches as well. How should we do this and that and stuff like this. But obviously, the coach has a really important role during the tournaments, where they have to calm you down, and they have to come with their input, and then the players have to use the input, how they feel like they can do it. Because sometimes if the coach says, "Oh, you should play the backcourt more," if I don't feel like playing the backcourt for some reason because I'm insecure on something, there should be this mutual of this understanding of, I'm listening to what you're saying, but I'm not doing it because I don't feel like doing it. And I think that's really important to acknowledge.
So when there's a conflict between suggestion and your own personal kind of feeling at the moment, like, how do you handle that piece? Like,
sometimes it's, well, like, if for some reason, sometimes I need to have the coach say, "Come on, this is not good enough," or whatever. But sometimes we are in a situation where, even though, I need that, relax, you're doing the right thing and stuff like that. It all comes down to the given tournament and the given, mindset you have. The coach and the player has to have that, mutual understanding of each other.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah, I've never really thought of it that way. I usually only have like random people like sitting beside me. So when I'm playing, but I'm like, "How's it going? How are you?" It's like a
With
best friend.
that being said, I think it's important also that the players sometimes also learn to be on their own. Sometimes, you've seen me also over the last few years, having no coach behind me, and sometimes it's a good exercise to mentally being able to handle the whole thing yourself, and to be able to figure out solutions. And that's also something we have to be careful with, especially for the youth, that they're getting so early, they're getting reliant on the coach, that they don't learn to think themselves. So coaching and getting tips and stuff like that from outside of the court as a young player is not something I necessarily feel like it's a good thing.
Oh, that's very interesting. Yeah, and I think I obviously agree with you too. It's like the over reliance that you don't have your own decision making. I know Zhou Tianchen, actually. I don't think he has a coach. He has his physio that
Yeah.
and but she's like probably the biggest fan that I've ever seen in my life too. So which is fantastic. She's always like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Oh, that's amazing."
Yeah,
I guess. Oh, sorry.
it's great to see when the players and the people they're working with, they obviously want to see the players succeed, and they get so involved, which is what is also sport is all about, right?
Of course, of course. Will Natalia and Vega be in the stands for this tournament, or?
Yeah, they will be as unless it's a really late night match, they will.
Yeah.
It's a big privilege to be able to obviously have your family with you
Yeah.
sometimes.
That's amazing.
And yeah, it's they will be here in Indonesia, and they will also go with me to Malaysia and Singapore actually.
Oh, nice, nice. Well, then they just get to hang out when you're like resting or training, or
Yeah, they are down in the pool area right now in
nice.
Vegas, trying to connect with other kids, maybe learn a few bahasa
Yeah,
sentences.
yeah.
Those,
Super social babies, social babies.
yeah.
I wish my baby's the same. So, but yeah, I guess let's jump into more the skill side and the specific. I think a lot of people that are usually on interviews like this or conversations like this, they like to hear about the equipment that you use. And I know Yonex is a big sponsor for you, and they're wonderful people too, because we've been in talks with them too, and
Mm.
they're very good people that support athletes that are going the long road too. For you, I guess equipment that you're using right now, shoes, and yes, and then we'll kind of dive deeper into it. String,
Mm.
pounds, and do you do your own stringing? That was a big question that I got from some friends.
No, I don't do my own stringing. I get a lot of support from Unix again. They have you know guys all around the world who can help me in Dubai. It's Atlas Sports who are working together with Unix who helps with my stringing in
Amazing.
Denmark. It's Catcher-Experten and Scansport who help with the support of that. And out
Awesome.
here, the Unix stringing team is obviously all around the world
Mhm.
helping us. So it's a big privilege not to have to think about that.
Yeah.
I use the BG80,
Yeah.
33
Oh,
pounds,
yeah.
10% pre-stretch. I don't necessarily recommend other people doing that because
Pre-stretching.
know the high pounds thing,
Oh,
because
yeah, yeah,
it's obviously your shoulder has to be able to adapt to it, and you
yeah.
break a lot of strings, which if you have to pay for stringing
Expensive.
it for Yonex, obviously it's a good thing. So go ahead, guys. But
Support them. Yeah.
yeah. No, but jokes aside, it's
Yeah.
33-pound BG80, the Astrox 100cc current I
Yeah.
use at the moment.
The testing phase of a racket that you're potentially using next, how does that
Mm.
come about? I'm quite interested.
Well, for me, actually, my racket is the one you can buy in the stores.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't get it customized or
Oh,
anything. Um, yeah, so I get a lot of questions about that, and to be honest, I'm not too picky when it comes to rackets, and obviously I know what I want and stuff like
yeah,
that. I'm
yeah,
pretty good at trying out new stuff and then trying to see how I can use it further on. But now when I've been working with Yonex for so many years, we know what type of equipment I
yeah.
like. They know what I like, and then I obviously test out the rackets, and then I get I give them some feedback, and okay, the
Mm,
stiffness, I need a little bit more stiff and stuff like that, and then they will but with the 100cc or something like. Oh, it reminds me a little bit about the Akshay 11 I used in the past, but it has some
yeah,
good things to it and stuff like that. So I easily fell in love with the model.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, the whole, right when you said that, someone asked, "Are your rackets customized for you?" Every racket has this exact same spec. Like, I guess there's the 4U,
I
the
use
5U,
I
yeah,
use 3U G4
3U G4.
model.
Okay, just for
Yeah.
the people that want to be like Victor, go get those rackets. So, not that the racket will change you, but
Oh,
um, yeah, hopefully that will add the game to add a better awesomeness to your game. But shoes, like everything's Yonex, obviously,
yeah.
right now, right? So.
The
Um,
shoes, yeah, I still use the HSB. I can't remember the exact, but I can go pick it up before we stop so people can see which one. I would say
Yeah.
there's coming a new color now, a new shoe which I'm gonna use really
Ooh.
soon. So people should stay tuned for that.
Oh, that's exciting. Hopefully I
Yeah.
can get a pair. We'll see. So, not that I play enough, but um, there was a question previous to this. So after training, what is the recovery session like? I know there's different types of training that you go through, but maybe like a heavy training day. Do you do like cryo and stuff like that too, like with ice baths and stuff like that too? Or
I use mainly, sometimes I do jump into the cryo. I only have the possibility to do that when I am at NAS in Dubai. But I use ice baths. In Denmark, sometimes you can also just jump into the sea, right? It's mainly cold. So I use that. Obviously, I use some physio and some massage work and stuff like that. A lot of stretching, a lot of mobility and stuff like that. For a tall athlete like me, it's really, really important that the mobility is and the flexibility is taken care of. So I think actually you can do a lot of stuff yourself. Obviously, it's great to have a masseuse and a physio around you, but building up the base with some stability and flexibility work and having some recovery garments around you is you can get a long way. So it's not the physio's fault or the masseuse's fault if you don't recover well. You can do a lot of stuff about 90% you can do with proper nutrition, proper warm-ups, proper stability and flexibility, I feel.
And speaking of nutrition, that's another huge piece. I know that you have your own line right now too, with the products to support your nutrition. But what does a common everyday look like, or what does another like for tournament look like for in terms of nutrition?
Well, obviously, with the huge training load I have doing big training blocks, the calorie intake is obviously really high. I do with the frame and I have and how tall I am. I do eat a significant amount of calories, around 4,200, something like that. I have even just to maintain my body weight. So it's usually my carbohydrates, which we're really carbohydrate dependent athletes. When we do all the high intensity training we do. So my main source of energy is obviously coming from carbohydrates, together with obviously enough protein in order to support my muscles recovery, my muscle recovery and everything. On rest days or training where the training load isn't necessarily as high, I do up my fat calories a little bit, healthy fats, avocados, nuts, stuff like that. But with all the training and all the tournaments and stuff, the carbohydrates is really, put in around trainings and the harder sessions.
What's your favorite carb to eat?
I think it's oatmeal, to be honest.
Oh, really? Just straight oatmeal, like no sugar, or?
I do usually add, a scoop of chocolate protein powder or something like that, which is, nowadays it's all made on, sweeteners like stevia or something like that. But it's it's something I use for flavor.
Oh, nice. Do you count calories still to balance, or is just like kind of what you're eating already?
Sometimes I take a month where I count or something like that just to make sure I'm on point. But for me, I'm the type of guy who is I'm so how can I say I'm so
In tune?
I'm a perfectionist. So if I start to count too much, I start to get over, in the
you get stuck in that mode.
And when I'm out eating, I will start to think about, how many grams of rice is this and stuff like that. And in the past, I did come over it. I wouldn't necessarily call it the eating disorder. Yeah, you could probably call it an eating disorder, because I was so perfectionist and so focused on getting the right amount of everything. And that's dangerous when you get over to that realm, because then you will start to think about it all the time. And at this point, I don't want to have any restrictions when it comes to it. I just follow my natural understanding, and I've counted calories and I've tried all kinds of diets throughout my whole career. So I have a huge experience when it comes to that. So at this point, I know what works and what doesn't. So no, at this point, I don't do it.
At this point too, since you're so in tune with intake to feeling, do you know when your body needs something without thinking?
I know, for example, if I've gone a few days where, my calorie intake has been a little bit too low, I did not eat enough calories, I will quickly start to feel it on my recovery. I feel at this point, for professional athletes, it's so important not to undereat as well. You have to find this point where you get enough calories to support your higher activity levels, because if you eat too little all the time, you will start to get under recovered, you will start to get all the injuries along the way, you will start to get overtrained. And overtraining syndrome is not something to play around with. And there's a lot of athletes, if you get into the whole, the female athlete triad and everything, where people, especially women, if they eat too little and they start to miss out on the periods and stuff like that, a lot of bad things will happen along the way. So it's something I've read a lot about, and it's something I know a lot about. So I'm really focused on making sure that my nutrition and I get enough food, most importantly. And I would say that I've been really fortunate to work with, for example, Sean Casey, who's my nutritionist, who has been telling me and learning me all about this. So people should definitely check out all the stuff and find information about this.
How did you get into learning about the nutrition side? Like, I know for a lot of athletes when they start out, it's just like train, 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 and just
Yeah,
eat anything, right? But
yeah.
like you obviously have fine-tuned it to a science to know the feeling. And I know a lot of elite athletes kind of go through this phase. But when was that point that you knew that you had to care for your nutrition?
I think the shift came a little bit when I moved to Copenhagen to practice at the National Center. I sort of changed my mindset to now I have this chance to be here, train with the best and stuff like that. So I have to take everything seriously.
Yeah.
So then I started to working with a nutritionist, and I started to experiment. I was even vegan at some point, which
Wow.
didn't work out for me personally. So I just started to, on all kinds, sleep, nutrition, everything. I started to break them down one by one in order to see if I can win a few percent here and there.
Yes.
And that's sort of how it all started. And then I came to this conclusion where I am now, where I've tried basically almost everything, and I know what works for me and what doesn't, because one size doesn't fit all, as we all know. So you have to figure out your own way to how to do things.
I guess unless it's big enough, then it can fit. No, just kidding. But yeah, if the t-shirt's big enough, it'll fit.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
No, just kidding. I'm just trying to break the intensity because I know you're very, very focused, and I don't want to break that focus either because I want you to keep winning so we can have more conversation about winning. But yeah, I guess at the point of people learning about nutrition, there is a lot to learn on both sides, right? Like some people are just recreationally learning about badminton, for example, but maybe they get inspired by you winning and they want to take it to another level. This is kind of what
Yeah.
if you want to take things. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, but I would say that it's important to understand that obviously nutrition, if you suddenly eat, well and eat healthy, and the way, whatever athlete eats, it's not like this is just, 95% of success in badminton is how you train, is how your talent, is how you work on the badminton side of things. And then all the other stuff is icing on the cake, obviously, in order for everything we do outside the court is with the focus on being able to do the things we do on court even better, because that is the foundation of the things we do. We are badminton athletes. We're not physique athletes. We're not, it's not about if you're 8 or 10% body fat. It's how you play and it's how you move on court. So everybody's different, and badminton is without a doubt the most important thing to be able to do right. It's not,
Of course.
well, with sleep being one really probably the most important thing.
Yeah, and I guess the core of it is that badminton. The rest, like you said, is kind of supporting that core. But jumping really quickly, I know we have a little bit of time left in terms of the English side because we're going to jump to Chinese really soon. But sleep, I know that is such an important component of recovery and growth. Actually, how do you go about your sleeping regimen?
Matthew Walker has written a really, really good book. I don't know if you read it, called Why We Sleep, and there's a lot of great information in there. So if people want to, I'm not a sleep expert, of course, but if people want to learn a lot about sleep and recovery and why we sleep, they should definitely read that book. For me, I really, obviously, with all we are in a situation where we are exposed to the jet lag issue a lot of times, so you have to figure out ways to handle that. That is obviously a big challenge, and you will have nights where, obviously, we had a night flight yesterday where sometimes you won't be able to get the amount of sleep you should, but you can do a lot of stuff with regards to when you eat, how you eat, how you expose to light during the evening, how stuff, all that kind of thing, and you can break everything down and read about all that stuff. But I try to at least get 8 to 9 hours every single night, and I would really much like to have a nap during the day, but I'm not so good at napping yet, but I'm trying to learn.
Practice. That's good. It
Yeah,
just takes practice. So yeah,
yeah,
it makes it perfect. So the longer you sleep, the more you sleep, the better.
yeah.
Yeah, because well, I'm also the type that loves life a lot, and I think sleep. I felt that it was a waste of time when I was younger, but now the older I
Mm,
get, I'm like, I need that. But then after having a child, it shifts like totally because you're following
yeah,
kind of their schedules and systems, right? So,
yeah.
then when you get to a new spot, do you adjust right away, like to the time zone there?
Yeah, I try to at least. That's
Yeah,
also one of the things about the Dubai move, right?
yeah,
Now I only have yeah three hours or something like that to adapt to,
yeah,
whereas I would have 5 or 6 the other way, right?
yeah,
If I came from Denmark.
yeah.
So I try to adapt right away, and I try not to sleep too much during the day the first 2 days, and I try to expose myself to the natural light in the
Yes.
first part of the days, especially. Because all these kind of things is something which will help combat jet lag.
Yeah, like circadian rhythms and stuff too. I'm sure
Yeah,
you
for
you
sure.
probably
Circadian
eat
rhythm.
that way. Yeah,
Circadian rhythm is a whole thing you
science.
can spend a lot of hours learning about.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to talk to you for like another 5 hours, but I know you have a tournament to play. So, we have a question here again. What would you like to see done better at and for the tournaments from a player's perspective? I don't know which tournaments Sarah's mentioning right now, but yeah, I guess currently the tournaments that you're playing, I'm sure there are ones that are grander, like the All Englands, where
Mm,
you kind of get pampered when you go.
mm.
But are there other tournaments you see that there's opportunity to be taking care of the players more in general?
Well, obviously, I think BWF is doing the best they can do, right, and everything. But I do feel like we should try to build up the players even more. And obviously, there has been this language barrier a lot, where it's not,
Yeah,
you know, it's not all countries who is as comfortable speaking, English and
yeah,
stuff like that. And I think in order to have a sport which is worldwide doing really well and have a lot of focus from the spectators kind of things all around the world, we have to build up the athletes. We have to have different personalities. We have to have the rivalries which we had. Obviously, the best example would be the Lindan Lee Chong
oh
Wei
yeah,
area.
epic.
Of course, people were always looking forward to the matches and stuff like that, and I'm happy to be in a situation now where people are also looking forward to my matches and stuff like that.
Yep, yep.
But we have to build up the athletes. We have to do promotion around them. But we
Yes.
also have to make sure that during the competition there is a platform in order to do that. It's not.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be Dubai all the time. But
sure.
but when we played the Dubai Super Series finals,
Yeah, amazing.
things were top notch. The gala dinner, people came in suits.
I
They came in
know you guys
dresses.
look so good. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
came in
I know.
dresses. I think the fans, they love to see that side of the athletes.
Yes,
And I think
yes,
it's important we have that. The gala dinners, the press conferences, the media days,
yeah.
stuff like that. We have to have that integrated if we want the sport to succeed. It's always succeeding, but we have to aim higher. We have to get more out of the athletes, and the athletes have to have a platform in order to do that. And
Totally.
I think that was one of the things the Dubai Super Series finals did right. There was
Mm,
these, small things like big, high-end cars outside the hotel,
yeah,
just
yeah,
taking us whenever we wanted.
yeah,
There was great players lounge, which is
yeah,
not often we have that, with great food
yeah,
at the tournament. You
yeah.
wanted to stay out there and eat out there and stuff like that, and that's not often we have it like that. And everything around the tournament should be like that. And that's
Yeah,
hard to do if you have a lot of tournaments all around the year.
yeah, yeah.
But then the thing is, the sponsors probably says, "Oh, we have to get the exposure of all these kind of tournaments every single year." And then you get into the financial part of things, where it's like,
Yeah.
we don't have money to do all this kind of stuff for all the tournaments around the year. But then in my point of view, we should focus on doing that for the biggest tournaments for the year.
Yes.
All
Yeah.
Super 1000 should be something where it's like media days,
Yes.
great players lounges,
Yeah.
press conferences, and stuff like that. But again, it's easy for me to sit here and be clever, but it's just thoughts I have as an individual I am, and you know, me wanting seeing the sport getting even more recognition worldwide.
Of course, like being the ambassador for badminton, like I really think that you've taken that position too, and I'm sure a lot of athletes have that same perspective too. But now I think you're unique in the sense that you have attended and accomplished what you've accomplished to see where there's opportunity to improve. And yeah, I totally agree. The celebrity status of badminton elites should be more recognized, because you guys put in the hard work. It's not that you guys search for that, but it just feels good that you are cared for and looked after when you're at these tournaments, because you are
Yeah.
performing to better the sport and
Mm,
put more eyes onto the sport, right? And
mm,
ideally, that's what we want to do here in North America too. And I think when you put money down on certain things and invest into it, you will get more eyes on it.
mm,
Naturally, if there are more tournaments like that, and we're putting all these media days obviously won't go to waste. Like it's going to be
mm,
utilized greatly on the platforms right now, and the
mm,
athletes themselves will take a lot more pride too. I think in the
mm,
auxiliaries of the sport, not
mm.
just the sport itself anymore.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's
it's
for sure. I
definitely
see it
yeah.
as a great, I see it as a great thing where it's like, initiative like also what you're doing and what your guys are doing is that, it's only healthy for the sport. There's again, like you would coming down back to the camps and everything, there's this healthy competition where
Yeah,
one thing is doing a great job here. The other party should work, should learn from that and say, oh, they're having great success over here. Let's try to see if we can do something similar and do it great on both sides. Because
yeah,
one whatever, let's say another league, let's say one league is doing really well, it doesn't mean the other, it's not, we don't have to choose here. That both things can be great at both times, and it's only
exactly.
good for the sport to have that healthy competition.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. And kind of talking about that side where rivalries, controversies, it's something that I don't know if it's because of the sport itself, it's a gentleman's sport, that the controversy side is a lot less. And if you
Mm,
look at basketball and all the big sports in United States, they focus so much on the media side surrounding kind of the sport itself. And this is just a general like an idea and a question of like how can we create that interest outside of the sport, like when you talked about when the athletes dressed up for the super
mm,
series final, they looked so dapper and so different than on court.
mm,
And how do we show people that other side of the athlete, that
mm,
personality side? And no, definitely that's an ideal that I'd like to aim for with the current plans here in North America, with our friends here and with you too. So but yeah, I think the English side, I haven't explored everything. This is only like a fifth of what I wanted to talk about, but
probably not the last time we are
yeah,
talking
yeah,
together.
definitely. But just for everyone, if you guys have any questions too, please leave it in the comments. We can find either the current time to answer some of them, or in the future too, we can
They're
develop it.
still
But
watching, Roman.
sorry.
If they're still watching,
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know if.
Don't worry, we got some diehard fans here. So
Oh,
some of my
that's great.
friends are like,
Oh,
yeah, they're like,
oh,
oh my gosh, like fangirling and stuff. So, but yeah, again, thank you so much, Victor, for being kind with your time, because I know it's taking out the focus towards what you want. I know you're not that type anymore. You're very focused on what you want to achieve, but this is definitely hopefully an addition to you rather than a thing you have to do. I
yeah.
love these conversations where we can explore and stuff too. So
Romy, things where, a big respect for the platform you're building and, spending time on stuff which is good for the sport and with people who also wants the best for the sport is, I don't see it as something which are taking focus away from anything, actually the exact opposite. It gives me motivation and it's something I'll happily do. And
thank
yeah,
you.
so it's all good.
Appreciate it, appreciate it. So yes, hopefully we're gonna shift gears, but we're gonna take probably a small 5 minute break, so you can do some bio breaks if you need to, or grab more coffee. I heard you metabolize it slowly, so maybe don't go for the second cup. But yeah, we'll take a short break, and then we will jump into the Chinese side of things, where Victor is actually more fluent in Chinese than English. No, just kidding. But I'll help us
Ah,
out.
please don't get
But
your hopes up. I'll do my
yeah.
best.
No, well, I'm sure you're good enough to do. So I won't be too hard. My Chinese might not be that good. I don't think you've heard me speak Chinese yet. So um, awesome,
Uh,
awesome. We got some. Here's one of my good friends too. Thanks, Victor. I got a lot of encouragement and inspiration from your sharings. Aw,
Thank you
sweet.
so much.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, so we'll jump into a break. Come back in maybe five minutes. So maybe 10:15. and then we can jump into the Chinese one shortly. Or
Sure.
yeah, thank you so much. See you soon. Hello，大家好，我是 Romy 啊。你们现在目前在观看的是我们的 Shuttler Spirit，就是我们的羽球魂。那这边我们会探讨关于羽毛球的一些思想思路，跟我们会邀请一些非常非常特别的来宾。就像我们今天是我们是我可能是有生以来邀请过最怎么讲都不知道怎么讲了，我对中文不是很好。邀请过最好的一个羽球健将，那他本身是世界第一、奥运冠军、世界冠军、汤杯冠军，还有我们太多冠军都不知道全英锦标也是冠军那他目前是在我们的印尼，他准备即将打我们印尼公开赛，那也非常欢迎我们今天的特别来宾，就是我们的安赛龙。
大家好，
您好，哇，中文实在是
你好，不
你好，
用说您，
你好啊，
不用说您，我以为你说
您哦，对，
您好。
您好，对，我年纪比你大，所以可能你可以说你们的错，但没有
不用
关系，没有关系。真的非常感谢你今天能够抽空出来跟我们探讨一下关于我们羽毛球的一些也不是疑问。那你因为今天想要看的其实是你自己本身在羽毛球的一个整个目前的一个事业，跟你个人本身的一个生活。你怎么去做一个平衡？那目前在你的思想当中，你现在最大的一个目标是什么东西？
我觉得对我来说最重要的事情是，我的进步，我想继续进步，因为我觉得在很多方面我还有很多进步的空间。所以我每天都问自己，今天我在哪方面可以进步？我不要想太多关于成绩、比赛什么的。我想把我怎么说？我大部分的注意力放在我的训练上。
哇塞，你中文实在是，我都 so good so good 所以这边有一些观众想要问一些问题，关于我们有很多马来西亚的一些朋友，他们知道你跟李子嘉也有较量过蛮多次的，那你觉得他目前的程度，因为我知道他经常会被比较跟李宗伟在一起，所以他的程度还可以提升多少？那在东南亚的球员方面，你觉得他们跟欧洲球员有什么不同的一个特点的一个比较？
我觉得很难，当然，李世嘉他不是李宗伟，他是
自己，
李世嘉，对。
对对对
呃，
对
但是当然是这样，以前也有很多人跟我和盖德也
对，
说，安塞龙他是新的盖德，但是我也很早很早的就说我不是盖德，他是他自己，他有他的成绩，他是他自己，我只是安塞龙。
对对对
我想在我自己的路走。
对对
我觉得历史家他当然他的进攻非常厉害。而且呢，他每次跟他打比赛的时候都必须当然很认真的去打。如果你打的，比如说你打的太慢啊什么的，那他
嗯
真的是很难打。
啊
嗯，我觉得呢，对我来说，因为他也是我的，怎么说，他是我的对手，对不对？所以
对
我非常尊重他。但是，而且呢，我非常期待下次有机会跟他打比赛。
哇，很棒很棒。那像他其实也是蛮高的高个子的，像你你们本身训练方面跟在羽球的成长的过程中，我记得你以前有跟我分享过，就是其实没有那么容易，因为高个子的羽毛球手，你那时候有谈到好像是那个鲍春来，还有
嗯，
谁是非常高的一些选手，他们整个
其实是高的。帕
对对对
松湾，帕松湾
对，
也是比较高。以前的呢，其实呢，以
对，
前呢，我知道没有那么多，就是说没有那么多很高的男单，所以其实长得越来越高，我觉得压力比较大，因为我
哦，
怕如果我太高的话，那我的步伐不能很灵活什么的。
对对对对，
而且呢，很多人说啊，他太高啊，他不可能可以打男单啊什么的，他不可以怎么说拿到很多很多冠军啊什么的。
对对
然后，但是其实 听这个话就给我更多动力。然后呢，我就去，因为当然高的人他有一些缺点，但是也有很多优点。你
对，
要在所有的方面你要进步，然后不要想太多关于那个你多高啊什么的，因为这个是不能控制的事情。
没错。
你要把你的注意力放在你可以控制的事情上，然后这个是从我小的时候，这个是我的想法。
哦，哎，你那时候你是什么时候长到你目前的身高？你几岁的时候你就这么高？
然后我觉得大概是14、15岁
哇，
左右，我就不是，我开始长，
哦，开始
然后
长高，OK。
对对对，然后18岁的时候，我可能到差不多在这个高度吧。
现在的高度，OK OK。那你在训练的一个调整方面，有需要做调整吗？因为你是在长高之前，就像我们
嗯
年轻一点的选手，通常都是很小的时候开始，像可能10岁开始到他们要发育的时候15岁左右开始成长很快。你那时候的
嗯。
说训练的一个调整，有需要去做吗？
其实我当时比较很幸运，因为我没有那么多伤，我没受伤了很多其实。
哦，
但是我当然要调整，然后我要拉肌肉啊。
对对对，
我的教练很早就告诉我，你要每次训练之前和训练之后，你要拉
有，
肌肉啊，你
对对对，
要做很多那个我不知道怎么说 flexibility 那个
柔软，
练习啊。
对对对，柔软，就是
柔软啊，这个
呀呀呀。
这个也是一种中文的课，
啊，对对，
谢谢。
你也在教我很多，所以我现在也要想一下，对，很久没有讲这些中文了，对。哦，
互相帮助。
我们有韩国的朋友，对，韩国的朋友也有在看，对。啊，所
嗯，
以要就是拉，诶，那像你在拉肌肉、拉筋这些东西，你在训练前跟训练后都通常花多少时间下去？
我觉得其实最重要的是热身的一部分。
哦，OK，
每次有训练的时候，我可能花了20分钟、30分钟左右，热身啊，拉肌肉啊，做一些，那个热身的练习啊，一些因为那么高，特别是在那个 core 那个肚子和那个后背的那个一部分，必须把它很强壮，要不然步伐不稳定的时候，很容易可以受伤。所
哦，
以当然你的腿，
对
是非常重要的，因为大部分的动作是
对
你的腿做的，对不对？所以，
对对
必须把你全身，很强壮和很
对对。
稳定。
没错没错，你讲到的就是我们的 core 嘛，那中文是
嗯，
核心，就是我们的
核心。
核心。啊，sorry，对不起，
嗯，
在教中文啊，这不是教中文课程，sorry。
外语好，谢谢。
对对对，
我学
没有问题没有问题。
我学起来吧。
啊，对对，因为讲到核心这个东西，我觉得很多的东西，很多发力的东西都是从核心出来的嘛。因为羽毛球的动作其实很微妙的动作嘛，有一些就是小爆发的那些东西，我觉得都是从核心这边出来的东西。那这个我觉得电视上可能会比较难去看到的东西。你们练就是在练这些非常小的技巧上的动作，其他那些大动作什么杀球啊，跟真的在跳跃、鱼跃或者是在画大步伐，那个其实很明显的可以去看。可
嗯，
是这些小技术，像你
嗯。
的用 momentum 用你动力去做的一些东西，可能很多人感觉不到这种东西。
而且每一个每一场训练和每一个比赛都不一样，对不对？有很多
对对对，
不一样的动作啊，很快就要适应
对
新
对对对
的情况啊什么的，所以真的对身体的要求，
非常
对，非常难。
非常高，非常高。对，
对。
那刚才那位朋友也有在想问一下，就是关于国家跟文化不同的一个训练方式，像我们在我们东南亚或者是亚洲，
嗯。
跟你们欧洲的一些训练方式跟打球的一些方式的不同，你觉得你目前的打法是像欧洲球员吗？还是你已经有开始在融合你学亚洲球员的一些技术？
我觉得，最大的区别，其实我觉得是你说关于那个亚洲的训练的方式，他们，因为 每次在迪拜啊，或者跟亚洲人训练的时候，我问他们，那你去怎么训练啊？然后我知道他们很早就开始做很长的那个 interval， 去打可能30分钟的防守的练习啊什么的。但
30
是对，然后当然如果你做30分钟的那个防守的话，不能做得很激烈，不能做怎么说 tempo 很高，速度很快的
对，就
不可能啊，
节奏很高呀。
对，不可能可以，
哦，
不可能，所以如果我的想法是，我做的那个速度很快，但是我可能只做4分钟、3分钟，但是打得非常快，然后
激动，
每一个失误对我来说不太好。我想能打得很快，没有很多失误的那个打法。
就是你的准确性会非常高，你的 precision 会非常高，就对了。
是，所以
哦，
每一个训练的时候，每一个可以说比分，每一个球都非常重要的。我
嗯，
怕如果我做很长，而且如果我知道我的训练可能是4个小时，连续4个小时训练，我知道如果我不调整
哎，
的话，那我肯定会在1个小时后我累死了吧。
对，一定会
呃
失误的嘛，对，没有错，没有
对，
错。
所以我的
但我倒
想法是，我想练的比较短时间，但是速度很快，而且非常激烈的。
对，没有错。诶，那谈到我们这种准确性的东西，我知道我们的桃田跟 Tomomo 每次看他打球，很多人说他的准确性是非常非常高的。那我当然知道你当然也非常高，但你在跟这些对手，就是他们在 precision 方面非常非常高的时候，你的是你专注能力要很高吗？你在打这些选手的时候，
我觉得很难受。其实我没
嗯，
想到太多关于这
好，
个事情。我觉得，我知道，比如说，跟大部分的对手啊，现在
嗯，
他们在所有的方面，他们很厉害，对不对？而且
哦，
呢，每一个对手，我知道我必须能调整，而且我不能一直用一样的那个打法，对不对？有的时候
对，
我知道，比如说抽信前啊，
对，
如果打的太慢的话，他非常难打，所以我
对，
知道我的速度必须很快啊什么的，所以每一个比赛
哦，
都不一样，所以真的很
对。
难说。
没有错，反正你是依那个对手来调整就对了。
是，
对，没有错。那这边有个问题，好像从 Gilbert 丹麦说是一个足球国，但羽毛球可能算少数运动嘛？我觉得当然，我觉得跟足球可能是少数，可是羽毛球在丹麦也是算就是很多人也知道丹麦嘛，在羽
嗯。
毛球这个东西，
我觉得丹麦羽毛球的历史
对
很长，而且我们以前有很多很多很厉害的
对
运动员，对不对？所以我
color，
觉得一个很重要的事情是，刚刚开始打球的话，如果你是丹麦人，你知道以前有人他
哎，
拿到了很好的成绩，给你
对
动力，
对
呃，让你相信你可以达到很高的水平，对不对？你可
对，
以拿到很多冠军啊什么的。而且呢，做我们英语的采访的时候，我说我们的那个俱乐部，
对，
在丹麦有很多很多羽毛球的俱乐部，有很多很好的教练，有的教练他们是以前的队员什么的，对不对？所以这
对。
个也是有很多对我们的那个运动员也有很多影响吧。
对，那非常好。哎，那现在其实你对这种就是羽毛球推广，你在丹麦本身里面有在做这种promoting 这个动作吗？
嗯，当然，我觉得
嗯，
在我的情况下，我觉得我有一些责任，对不对？一个责任是
对
当然在场上，我要尽力，然
对
后我想拿到我想把我注意力当然放在我的训练和我的准备上，然后我希望我可以拿更多的冠军。但是另外的一个责任是推广羽毛球，我想在世界上，不管 不但在丹麦推广，但是在
全世界
全世界推广。因为我觉得羽毛球的那个它真的有很多，我忘了这个词，它真的有很多
英文是吗
对，我也忘了英文。
？OK 丹麦我不知道丹麦语是什么。OK 角度哦，
它
就是
对，我觉得虽然当然羽毛球它已经发展的很快，但是我们可以做得更好，我觉得。
还有很多机会，就是机会
还有很多
可以去
机会可以推广，还有很多空间可以进步和
空间
更
可以成长。OK， 了
对，
解，opportunity to grow
想
up
起来
grow
了，
up。
opportunity，当然
对，
想起来了。
没有错，没有错。我已经讲的，我不是只能讲非常好了，这个已经感觉好像在跟中国人讲话，你发音比我还要标准，所以我觉得
哪里
no，OK，那我们谈到关于就是在推广运动，我跟你认识的情况下是借由 Brian Yang，就是我们加拿大这边的一个非常好的一个男单选手，那你也非常提拔他。那我知道你现在目前是从丹麦你搬过去迪拜那边去嘛？那你在这个过程当中，你为什么会选择做这个搬到迪拜那边这个动作？
我觉得作为羽毛球的运动员，特别在我的情况下，我的想法是，我想我周围的人给我动力，竞争很激烈是一个非常重要的一部分。如
对
果在训练情况下，如果我周围的人他们给我动力，他们也给我一些压力，
对
这个是非常重要的。我觉得，比如说 Brian 啊、Axelsen 啊、
对
Luke
对
You 啊，而且有很多很多很厉害的运动员，他们都给我动力。其实我不太，很多人他问我啊，你不害怕他们怎么说？他们会去了解你的打法，我不知道你可以这样说，
对，
或者
没错没错，对
嗯，
你说的对，
但其实我不怕，我一点儿都不怕，因为
对
我觉得在比赛中，如果你是专业羽毛球的运动员，你必须能找到一个怎么说一个
答案，
对一个答案，
对
可以赢，对不对？所以其实对我来说，最重要的是在训练情况下，我必须在我周围的人，他们必须当然是很好的人，但
对，
是他们也要给我动力。而且我知道我们所有的人，我们我们当然希望我们自己会赢，但是
当然当然
我们也希望，我们也祝所有的人 like all the best，对不对？所以
当然。
我们互相给动力。
除非他在跟你打啦，要是说跟你在打的时候，你当然希望你赢，跟别人打你就希望他们赢。
他们去他们去迪拜之前，我给他们发合同，然后在这个合同里我写，如果你跟我打比赛，你肯定要输。
对，你就不能再回来了。对，没错，没有开玩笑，开玩笑。完全了解，完全了解。那我觉得你做这个动作非常怎么讲？非常有智慧的地方就是他们也赢嘛，因为他们想要跟非常高水准的人，尤其是世界第一，像你这种水准的人来较
嗯，
量，你们又可以一起训练，然后你又可以有这个非常新鲜跟非常怎么讲有passion 的一群就是年轻小伙子来一起训练。那因为你在看他们的时候，你会不会看到你以前的你，就是刚开始的时候？
当然是有的时候我比如说 Brian Yang，因为我知道
对
他也是你的朋友，对不对？
对
我我们训练的时候，我不觉得我自己是28岁，然后他
29岁，对对对
对对对对对，
对对，
所以我有的时候觉得我还是很年轻啊，我不想关于那个年龄的问题，但是
对对对
当然，你问我这个问题，我当然可以看很多我自己在他们那，对不对？因为他们还有很多，他们有一个很 Brian 他有一个很长的路要走，但
对，
是我自己也有，但是我知道他会遇到很多困难，但
嗯，
是我也相信他可以怎么说？
去克服。
他可以解决和他可以坚持下来。
没错没错，哇，说的非常好。这真的是一个你现在不只是选手，你也是导师，一个 mentor， 对这些人来讲嘛，对，因为我觉得你已经走过非常多的路，然后也非常多的你荣获非常多的奖，那你也是花时间下去。我们刚才用英文在讨论的时候，你讲说你已经没有什么秘密，但是
嗯
你就是花时间下去把该
嗯
做的做好，那就
嗯。
看你可以达到什么境界呀。
对，没有什么，其实没有什么秘密。我只知道你已经说的，但是如果你要在羽毛球成功的话，
嗯
你肯定会遇到很多困难，而且呢，你要真的要训练很多时间，你要怎么说，不是浪费，你会遇到很多呃，不是困难是问题，你要做一个决定，我要
嗯，
出去跟我的朋友玩儿吗？或者
啊，
我待在家准备明天的训练什么的。
有很多选择得做了，就是 forks
对，
in the road 嘛，对对对。
你所有的那些事情你必须解决，这个很难。所以我对每一个羽毛球的运动员都很尊重他们，因为我知道这个我们的工作
简单。
不容易。
对对对，哎，那当
嗯，
当时你是因为你的目标非常清楚，所以你在这种交叉路的时候，你知道去选择对的方向吗？因为像你讲的，那种交女朋友、谈朋友这些东西啊，或者是出去玩啊这些东西，对年轻人来讲都是他们非常想要做的一些事情。可是，对你当时来讲16、17岁的时候，你去 Copenhagen 去真的
嗯，
去好好训练的时候，你是怎么去好好的下定决心去
嗯。
做这件事情？
我觉得其实对我来说，这个问题不太难，因为我很早就得到了很多很好的成绩，比如说赢了那
嗯，
个World Junior World 世锦赛的那个比赛，
对对对，
对不对？这个
对对对，
非常给我动力，而且呢，
哎，
所有的丹麦人非常相信我可以
可以，
怎么说进步很快，而且我可以得到
啊，
很多成绩啊什么的，所以但是所有的运动员不是这样，对不对？他
对，
们可能在有的国家没有那么多支持啊什么的，
对对，
这个对他们来说很难，对不对？
嗯，
我以前没有遇到这个问题，嗯。
啊，了解，
对，所以我觉得每一个国家，我很幸运我在丹麦有机会和我有支持啊什么的，但是每
嗯，
一个人没有这个
计划。
怎么说机会。
对对对，这也是我觉得他们讲天时地利人和，就是 alignment of everything has to be at the right spot.
嗯，
So，
对，
我讲到英文去，觉得中文跟你讲我就要很小心我的，因为我自己中文不能太烂啊，没有开玩笑。再想一下，就
我也有点
是我们对对对，那个要是想要怎么讲，把羽毛球当成事业的一些朋友们，我觉得在欧洲，你刚谈到有很多不同的机会，因为有很多不同的俱乐部，大家可以参与去一直持续的去进步，到他们变成事业级的一些选手。但是像我目前在探讨跟一些我们的伙伴在多伦多这边，就是我们想要开始把北美的这边的一个联盟，就是我们的 leagues 开
嗯。
始开始创造一个好的一个 foundation。那你对联盟这些东西，因为我知道你有参加印度那边的联盟，
嗯。
那你觉得联盟对一个羽毛球的发展有什么样的一个好处？
我觉得很重要，而且呢，有很多好处。因为
嗯
你已经说的，但是，比如说在美国啊，在加拿大啊什么的，
嗯
不是每一个羽毛球运动员有那个 platform，有那个哦，我知道计划是什么，我知道
对对，
如果我参加这个比赛，我可以看看我的水平怎么样啊什么的，然
嗯
后有机会参加比赛，这个是非常重要的一部分，因为打比赛的时候，一打比赛之前，你有很多动力去训练；二，
对
你可以跟另外的跟你年龄一样或者跟你水平一样的运动员打比赛啊什么
对
的。
对
然后真的不是每一个运动员都有机会去参加比赛，而且呢，不是每一个运动员有机会去跟别的，比如说别的运动员训啊什么的，可能
对，
参加你们的 那些比赛的时候，他们也肯定会交新朋友啊什么的，然后
对
他们在将来可能可以互相帮助啊什么的，
啊，
所以
对对。
非常重要的。
这说的非常好，我知道你在我们刚才在英文访问那边也有谈到关于挫败跟失败这件事情，就是
对的，
你在打比赛的时候，像年轻一点的人，就是会去学习怎么去从失败中成长。我觉得，对你来讲，失败这个东西是什么？
嗯。每次失败可以学习，失败可以学习很多可以学会很多东西，我觉得。
对对
因为特别是孩子，我觉得他们必须学会怎么
对，
遇到困难，怎么去
嗯，
解决这些问题。因为在做专业羽毛球运动员，你也会怎么说？我也会输一些比赛，然后特别是孩子，他们肯定会遇到很多困难，然后如果他们很快可以学习怎么说，在失败中可以说吗？可
对。
以学会很多东西。这个是如果他们从小可以学习这个事情，我觉得这个是一个优点。
对对对，我完全同意，完全同意。那你这次对，我们谈到我知道你有 Natalia，你也不能叫你太太，你未婚妻哈，是 fiance 啊，
嗯
对对，后面讲太太，
嗯。
跟你的女儿现在都跟你在一起，那他们会在场地上看你比赛吗？
你知道我们现在在实验，
哎，
我们会有另外一个女儿，所以现
哦，
在
恭喜恭喜，哇，
对的，谢谢。
哦，
所以我们
棒，
也想借这个机会，
嗯，
带维维去亚洲看我的比赛。
哦，太
所以
棒太棒，
他们会在印尼，在怎么说，在比赛馆支持我，在马来西亚他们也跟我去，然后我们也去新加坡。
哇，
所以对，这个是连续5到6个星期的时间。然后其实我很幸运，因为呃因为 Natalia 和她很快就是我的太太，她知道
对对
她也是以前的运动员，所以她
对
知道我的想法，她知道我是怎么准备比赛。所以比
对，
如说我们不是睡在一样的房间，比如说因为
哦，
我的睡眠很重要，对不对？
对对对。
所以在所有的那些方面，她就知道我们是怎么去准备比赛和支持我，所以我是非常幸运的一个人。
哇，太棒了，有太太支持，然后哇，真的我还不知道你第二个女儿跟着非常恭喜。我
嗯，
知道有小孩真的是不一样。我目前自己也有一个一岁多的一个小孩，那我觉得
对，
有了一个下一代的时候，你在做事情的方式就感觉意义就大很多，呀，就是
对
好像也是
对对，
为他们嘛，呀。
大很多，你说的对。
对对对，对，没有错。哇，那很棒。那我知道时间方面我们也快要到一个段落了。那也非常
嗯，
感谢你今天真的抽空花时间下来跟我们聊关于羽毛球这些东西。那我们在看的朋友，或者是我们之后再看的朋友，也可以在我们的留言区当中留言一下，看你有什么问题想要问我们我叫龙哥好了，然后是跟 call 龙哥，安
我
塞龙。
我说龙哥，
哦，对，
我我我不太 formal，所
哦，不太服
以
我。
我有
哎，你有
就
你有nickname 吗？你的 nickname 是什么？
其实我觉得中文的名是这个龙哥，可以说也有些粉丝他们也是叫我
叫你龙，
龙哥，所以可以
哎，
说这个安
对对对，
塞龙 Vigo 是
哎
我的丹麦的
，Vigo？
nickname 嘛，Vigo，
哦，但是它的
但是
meaning 是怎么来？那平常 Victor 就叫 Vigo 还是？
也是
哦
我不知道为什么他们给我这个 nickname，其实，但是
OK，反正就叫
对，
你 Vigo 也可以。OK，了解了
对
解。I'm sure 很多这边的粉丝也都已经知道你的 nickname 是什么，可能很多都比你知道你自己私人的事情还多，所以有时候会变这样子哈。不 no，真的非常感谢今天抽空时
感谢
间出来，
感谢，
然后我们下次我们在印尼公开以后，我们会再 再谈多一点关于羽毛球的事情。那也祝你真的这次成功可以赢冠军，但是我也不要，当然不是一个压力啦，就是hope you perform your best and definitely will. So
我会尽力，非常感谢。而且呢，下次我的中文可能进步了一点。
你会讲核心，然后讲一些其他东西。
今天学会了2个字，所以很好。
很好。那有比以前进步就好了。OK， 好，谢谢 Victor，谢谢。